We are live. 2 more minutes. Allow folks on LinkedIn. On this studio, we only have the 4 of us. Every other person joining will be joining either from LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. Unfortunately, the comments do not show in real time, only comments via YouTube. So every now and again, I go to LinkedIn, drag the comment, put it in the chat, just so we can see in real time what folks are actually about, right? Good. So,
do we get to see the audience or even who is in the audience?
You will see the audience is not our business. We don't see the audience. Most times we see the audience from LinkedIn. That's where we see all of the comments. So screen open, right? And put my comments. That's how you interact live with the audience. Right?
Okay.
So you want to chip in about your book. That is the time in the LinkedIn chat to find a way to piggyback your book and what we're talking about. And again, we will have opportunity to have your book on my website because that's part of what the value I want to give to my panelists. Make sense?
Sounds good.
Perfect. Yes. Okay. Now let us do this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to season 2, episode 8 of the Fireside Chat. Somewhere out there right now, there is someone with more than 2 degrees, a world of experience, but yet their names are mispronounced in interviews. They are mostly more qualified than the person who will get them promoted. However, they are not yet promoted. Now, this conversation is for them, and it's for everyone who have ever been underestimated in a room they earned their way into. Welcome to the CI3 Fireside Chat. I'm Dr. Charles Igwe, and today we're having the honest version of a conversation most leadership panels only whisper about: the immigrant executive, turning difference into strategic advantage. Now the question is, Charles, why does this matter? Let me tell you why. This will not be a feel-good topic. It is a business one. In Canada, roughly 1 in 4 working women, get that right, 1 in 4 is an immigrant. But immigrant women only hold about 18%, 18%, again, hear me right. 1 in 4 is an immigrant woman. Yet, immigrant women only hold 18% of executive seats. Now, the people who arrive skilled are not the people who rise. And this is not a pipeline problem. Every qualified nearly came in through the economic skilled immigrants stream. I did. Probably Chukwemeka did too. Probably Abbas did too, or you've been here for a longer time. Now, these are people this country, Canada, recruited for our talents. Yet, only 1 in 10 women executives and 1 in 14 men belong to a visible minority. Highly educated immigrants are now leaving Canada at roughly twice the rate of lower skilled workers. Now, the talent gap, it is real. We compete to attract immigrant professionals, but they are quietly walking out through the back door. So the question is, and the question is very simple, yet uncomfortable. We let them in. Why don't we let them lead? That is the central question for today's conversation. If we let them in, why don't we let them lead? Now, our guests didn't wait for permission. That's the beautiful thing about today's conversation. And we'll find out how. But before then, what is CI3? Quickly, for those meeting us for the first time, CIT is a leadership platform built on one belief. Competence gets you in the door, but competence does not get you the influence you've earned. We call that gap competence gap. Now, through our fireside chats, our curated leadership experiences, and the work inside the platform, we help capable professionals turn skills into visibility, trust, and impact. So that is what CI3 is. Now, today's episode is part of what the CI3 mission is. Now it's time to meet the panel. If this were a live show, I would have said drum rolls. Let me bring in three people who have lived every side of this experience. First of all, Emeka Woog. Emeka, a professional engineer and senior portfolio manager who has delivered global projects across power, energy, and construction. A man who carries a title of honor and carries budget that moves economies. Emeka, welcome.
Thank you so much, Charles.
The next is my friend, Achis, right? President of PMI Montreal, industrial engineer, lecturer at HEC Montreal, and co-author of PMI's own book on AI for project management professionals. Over 25 years of experience, 12 of them in leadership across aviation, consulting, and the frontier of AI. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And last but not the least, Abbas, president of PMI Southwestern Ontario, founder of Strategist and JHMJ Consulting, a board member and strategy advisor, now serving the country itself at Global Affairs Canada, an executive who has built his own table when the existing ones were full. Abbas, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
To all audience viewers, three different continents of origin, one shared story. If you're ready, let's dig into it. Now, when difference felt like a liability, that is the theme of this first round of questions. We're all fundamentally different, but when has your difference felt like a liability instead of a strength? Emeka, you're an engineer and a titled man, Sir Chukwu Emeka. In your own culture, that name commands a room. Take me to the first time you walked into a Canadian or global boardroom and felt like your name and your title made you smaller instead of larger. What happened? And what did you tell yourself afterwards?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Charles. When difference felt like a liability. I think for me, the key thing is understanding how to adapt to different environments and not just assimilating into the environment, adapting and remaining true to yourself, right? We left Nigeria a number of years ago, 10 years to be precise, having worked in the oil and gas, in infrastructure, in IT for several years. We know what we brought with us from Nigeria, and we always wanted to demonstrate that in this environment. So coming into the Canadian environment, they didn't know what we knew. They didn't know the experiences that we had embedded in the inside of us. They just knew what they saw, say, on a resume, but they hadn't lived that experience with us. In some instances, those experiences made people we interacted with feel threatened. In some instances, it felt like we were coming for their jobs. But this is where adaptation, comes in, where you walk into a room, you read the writing on the wall, you read the mood and you feel the pulse in the room, and you adapt. You adapt your communication style, you adapt your leadership style. Most times when I talk with people, I describe that as stooping to conquer. You bring yourself to understand the situation before you start igniting all the ideas you have in the inside of you.
I'm gonna
And
pause you because I'm gonna pause you. You said something that is profound. Sorry to
yeah,
cut you short, Emeka. I just want you to lay emphasis on that. We stoop to conquer. Why
yeah.
I pause you is that is a particular phrase of my wife.
Hmm.
Right? Stoop to conquer. What does it mean to stoop to conquer? Go on. And
Yeah,
actually, Abbas, feel free to jump in at any time and yank this off Emeka's.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
So,
listening to this, and sorry if I interrupt over here. I think there's a key factor here. I came here when I was 11 years old,
mhm,
and the difference that felt is we allowed ourselves to feel different,
mhm,
right? And then the reason I say that, it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing, right? Each culture has its own way of doing things. Each culture has the way of interacting. And I think for me, it was me allowing it. And what I mean by that is I felt like I can't speak out because everyone's speaking. So I got to wait for everyone to talk, everyone to finish, right? By the time everyone's done, they've already said what they need to say. I was left in the back room. And again, I think it's hearing your own voice. That was the biggest factor for me. And I apologize, I didn't mean to cut you off. It just, you brought up a good point, right? As
mhm,
saying you came 20 years ago, and I'm trying to elaborate that. And I'm like, I came when I was 11 years old, so I came in a different stage, right?
mhm.
And it was the shy kid sitting in the room, the shy kid not putting his hand out, the shy kid feeling, oh, the teacher is speaking, I can't speak because I gotta wait for him, respecting the teacher, right?
Yeah,
And then after years goes by, it's no, you got to put yourself in that position, not wait to be asked. You put yourself in that position. We had a conversation a while back ago about a strategic project manager,
Mhm.
how to become a strategic project manager. Strategic project manager is you become strategic, not being told to become strategic. So that's the same perspective. You put yourself where you want to be and when you want to lead, because if you're going to wait for someone to tell you to come in, my friend, nobody's coming to tell you. And again,
yeah.
I think that's the key. And again, I apologize for cutting you off.
No,
I
no,
just want to
no,
make
no
that point.
apologies there. It's okay. I think it makes the interaction rich. So, back to the phrase "stooping to conquer." There are multiple interpretations of that, but for me, I'd look at it in one way. To take a leap, you need to go down and put some spring, to your feet, so that you can spring and go real high. That's the kind of picture I have at the back of my mind each time I talk about stooping to conquer.
Mm.
It comes with humbling yourself. It comes with humility. It comes with first understanding an ideology, because every culture is built on ideologies. When you come into a new environment, you need to understand the environment so that when you now spring, you can leap far and make impact without losing your true identity, right?
Mm.
There are lots of biases when you come in as an immigrant. We hear all the stuff. You're black. The black kids have to work 5 times or 10 times harder to get. But in all of this, in stooping to conquer, we must also understand that we shouldn't get drawn and stuck into the narrative of the biases.
Mm.
Not like we're not acknowledging that they exist, but we must rise above those ideologies that biases hold us down, right?
Mm.
And create a table for yourself if you're not invited to a table. So that's my brief picture of stooping to conquer. Now, back to the question.
Yes, sir.
Knowing what I know today, I'm one that is a self-motivator, highly confident individual. So coming to Canada, I knew exactly what I was bringing to the table. Despite the fact that I had to stoop to conquer, I started out in OPG where I was given a more junior role than what I was doing in Shell in Nigeria before I came to Canada. But for me, that was a humiliating experience where I needed to learn, the Canadian environment, the Canadian culture. And within 2 years of that experience in OPG, I got promoted 4 times because in each promotion, I competed for the role and I showed skill, I showed understanding, I showed learning.
You competed for the role. You
Yep.
were not sitting down and thinking
I
of.
was not given, I wasn't the black poster boy for the team, right? I competed and I won each time I competed. And that's because I came with that rich wealth of experience from Nigeria, which I did not rub in their faces from the start because I wanted the leg in. But the moment I had that leg in, I wasn't shy about what I brought to the table. I built relationships. I understood the culture, and I saw the spring, that got me to where I was. And that was what also opened the door for me to join Bruce Power. Bruce Power came headhunting for me. I didn't apply to Bruce Power in the first instance.
Wow.
So I'll leave it at that for now to allow others to speak.
I think that's a good segue to bring in Archie to the conversation. You now lead PMI Montreal in a province where language is identity. But before the title, what did an accent cost you? Can you give us some specific meeting where you knew your idea was right and what it gets more taken seriously this minute someone else repeated it? Maybe in a cleaner French or English. It was your idea. You said it over and over again, but maybe you didn't have the correct terminology, the nuances, and then someone else said it maybe in passing. And all of a sudden, it seemed that was the best idea anybody has heard. Have you ever been in a situation? Tell us what happened.
Oh, I love this question, and I want to take on the comment on the previous comment about the spring. I love the analogy, and when you move, and I moved to Canada 19 years ago, and not 19, yes, so almost 20 years ago, and 19 years ago I moved to Canada, but not to Canada as we know it, but to Quebec, which is a different beast, right? And I moved to Quebec, and so we were talking about English, and we were talking about French. My English was broken at that time. It is still broken, but it was even worse at that time. But my French was very basic. And in Quebec, I needed to perform in French. I needed to learn the language. We talked about adaptation. We need to learn how to adapt. But we don't know how to adapt. We don't learn that in school. We when people that have similar experiences tell us what it is, what it looks like, we have an idea, but it's just by living that we have that. And I'll answer your question by saying I can speak of different positions that I held over these years, and you just made a reference to PMI Montreal. PMI is a fantastic community, and not only PMI Montreal, but PMI at large is a fantastic community. And I remember very well that when I first landed in Canada, I sent an email to many people who were connected to the chapter, to PMI Montreal, and I got one answer at that time, which was from the president of the chapter.
And today you're president.
Michael Camel is his name, and Michael said, "Let's have lunch." And I said, "Well, this is wonderful. Let's have lunch. Look, the president of the chapter is inviting me for lunch. He doesn't even know me. I just arrived here in the country. My English is terrible. What is this guy going to talk about, right? What are we going to talk about?" But that lunch made me realize that not only PMI is a great community. Actually, I knew that already. He confirmed that. But Canada is a very welcoming country. And for those who are skilled and for those who are willing to succeed, and as we said, I mean, we need to embrace these opportunities. We need to not look at our diversity as a handicap, but rather as an advantage. And there are ways to do that, because not everybody can see that this factor this way. But that lunch made me think, look, this country has something very interesting for me and for everybody who comes here, who decides to come here, because every story is different. I know Abbas's story is different. I mean, he came here, he was 11. It was not necessarily his choice to come here. He can share more about his story, but every story needs to be respected. Mine was by choice. I came to Canada, I moved, I left everything behind by choice. And when we make this choice, you need to find your way. And when I had that lunch, I realized, look, this country is great. PMI is great. Eventually, I kept connected with PMI Montreal. Eventually, I worked as a volunteer for different positions for the chapter. I helped the community, and when we talk about the spring, there's something else that I would like to bring to the table here, is the fact that when you move to a different country as a skilled professional, there are two things that you lose. when you moved to another country as a professional. One thing is your network. You have zero network. You know nobody, right? You know nobody, and we know that Canada, other countries as well, but Canada particularly is a country that is moved by networks a lot.
I like to say we leverage relationships more than we leverage competence.
Voila. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so network is important. And the other ability that we lose when we move to a different country is the ability to sell. And why is that? I learned that. And why selling? Because we are always selling something. We are always selling an idea, selling ourselves, selling our capacity to find a new job, to get promoted. We are selling ideas, concepts all the time. But we lose this ability when we move to a different country because there's a different culture. The words that we use to use in a negotiation, for example, in our home country, they don't apply to the new country. You cannot translate that. You don't reach the person you are talking to by using the same expressions, the same words, the same, because these individuals, they have different references. So we lose that. So by embracing this and by facing that challenge and say, look, I don't have a network, I need to build one. I don't know how to sell ideas here. I need to know the culture, not only the language. It goes beyond the language, right? It's the culture. So these are some elements that for me are relevant for the conversation here as a starting point. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but at least I went to the direction.
Yeah. I think I want to give some oxygen to that,
Okay,
Charles.
go
On. I know leadership presence is really not about eliminating your accent as an immigrant or changing your personality. I used to think communication was primarily about getting a message across. But as I became more involved in leadership and senior leadership, I began to realize that communication is also about understanding how the message will be received.
Mm-hmm.
And that was even strengthened more when I joined Bruce Power and OPG and got involved with three-way communication as one of our tools, right? Where you pass on a message, the receiver interprets the message back to you, depicting what he understood from the message, and you can concur. And you'll be surprised what people understand from the same English we speak, right? Majorly because of different accents, But the beauty is Canada is made up of all immigrants. I've worked with people from Nigeria, Canada, Europe, different engineering disciplines, regulators, executives, contractors, frontline teams. You cannot communicate with them, like you just said, in exactly the same way. There's a cultural intelligence that must be applied, which means understanding the person in front of you without losing your authenticity. I just wanted to throw that in.
Perfect.
And so, if I can, go ahead.
I was just going to come to Abbas. He's looking at me like, Charles, when are you going to come to me? When are you going to come to me? Abbas.
Yeah, like Charles. My story is different.
My friend, you carry a name that in certain that I'm sure in certain rooms arise before you do, especially in the West, right? When they hear your name before you arrive, they already have a perception of who is coming. Yes. Yeah. So when did you first realize that your resume?
When did I first sorry, repeat that again.
When did you first realize that your resume was being read differently because of the name at the top of it? I know I asked you this question. My wife is a HR professional. A couple of years ago, there was this technique, I call it technique, going around where immigrant professionals would change their names, especially if they had native names on their CV, right? They either change it, funkify it, westernize it, abbreviate it, and for some, it actually helped them attract opportunities, right? I know a couple of people who did that. That's why I'm asking you this question. When did you first realize that your CV was being read differently because of the name at the top of it?
I think I realized that early in the stage when I first came to Canada in public school, right? I was the only one in class that was brown, whose name was, keep in mind, 1988, there wasn't a lot of immigrants in Canada. There wasn't a lot. So it was different. But in my perspective, I was also in public school, and let's not kid ourselves. Kids can be cruel. It's
Yeah.
nature, right? They draw crime, they do. And I heard it all. Believe me, I heard it all. To the point where when we got to high school, and excuse me, it was payback time for every single one of them. Right? It was payback time, right? But again, it wasn't on the other side, I had friends who were protecting me, who were my protectors. Right. I remember one incident, one teacher, and keep in mind, this is grade 6. I did not know English. I did not know French, right? And we had a geography test. I did my test. I didn't know English. So the next day when the teacher was handing out the papers, he grabbed my papers like, oh, you don't want this. And he scrambled it and threw it in the garbage in front of everyone. Because I have the lowest mark, right? But I did not know what I was answering because I did not know English. And I recall a couple of the students in class were frustrated, were angry. Why would he do that? He knows he doesn't know English. Why did he do that to him in front of everyone? Like, to that point, right? So again, it was a spectrum. But again, we're going back to the name. We're going back to my experience. And I'll say this and explain it. I was displaced out of age of 3. We were brought to the border. Left, right minefield, come back, we shoot you. So get out. Right? So, and this is where, again, I tied leadership with it. And I just wrote a book, From Displacement to Leadership. I tied the leadership tied to the story. And we left, right? We lived 8 years in Iran and we had a good life. Like my dad had businesses and whatnot, but it was another change for us. My dad decided, we had no future there. So he brought us here and we started all over again. And in public school, I recall when I first started, and again, and Alcides talked about knowing English. I learned 3 words: yes, no, maybe. So every time when someone talked, I'm like, yes. I don't know what they said. I just said yes because, again, it's yes. I know the word. They talk again. I'm like, no. I don't know what they said. I just said no because, I used yes. And they talk again. I'm like, hold on. I used yes. I used no. Now I'm going to use maybe. So maybe. Right. So that was my initial beginning. Now, again, kids are easy to capture the language. So I did capture it a lot faster. But again, it was the grammar side and whatnot. So with my name, I felt like, there were opportunities that I missed because of my name. But that was my own doing. And the reason I say my own doing, like I said earlier, I need to bring my voice out. Yeah, I need to do my voice and I need to defend myself. I need to do this. I had a teacher in high school, and Charles, I kid you not, I will never forget it to this day, who looked at me and told me that you will never make it anywhere in life. And that was an ESL teacher, English as a second language teacher. I would like to see her right now.
Abbas, you got to say that again.
She basically told me.
Was it in this country that a teacher said to you?
She told me that basically I will never make it anywhere in life. I should just drop out right now. And that was me, grade 9. And and that was my ESL teacher. So that's the person that's teaching you English. Right? I would love to see her right now, so I can show her the 2 masters I have and show her where I work and what I do. I would love to see her now. But again, there were challenges. Absolutely, there were challenges. The name brought some challenges. But again, it's always just like anywhere else you go. You have some ignorant people who are just ignorant. But I'll tell you one thing. One of my mentors was a white person who until this day, I'm still connected with him. I'm still a friend with him. He knows all my kids. He's seen them all grow up, right, to this date, some 2002, 2003, until this day, right? So race doesn't mean anything. Again, it's just people are sometimes ignorant, right? Are ignorant. But as an individual of different race and coming to a country, I think, we work twice as hard, but to prove ourselves. But I think it's also, it's us, it's our culture, it's our habit. We like to work hard.
We like to work.
We like to work,
Yeah.
I was going to come to that question, more like a bridging question, because for each of us on this panel, difference showed up early, right? It was obvious that we're different. Whether we try to hide it, whether we try to embrace it, either by our style, the way we talk, our communication. You couldn't speak French, you couldn't speak English. Difference showed up early for each of us seated here, and I'm pretty sure for our audience. So let's talk a little bit briefly about what that tax actually costs, because it's not money. Right? What did that difference cost? Aside from money, it cost visibility. It could have cost confidence, right? What else did that difference cost?
It cost a lot. It cost visibility. It cost identity. It cost the, mentally, right? Because again, you're different. I'll tell you, the first day I walked in school, I knew I was different. Everybody knew I was different. The way I was dressed, I had this jeans, cowboy boot, in grade 6. Imagine that, a dress shirt with a sweater on top. Come on,
you were dressed to impress, Emeka.
But that was
showed up for you, Emeka. Actually, what was it apart from money, right? What did it cost you? How did it make you feel? I know most times I go to the office, when I do go to the office, on a suit with my bow tie, and other folks wowsing with shorts, and I'm looking like I'm way overdressed. You're walking to the cafeteria and you hear people talk, maybe because, why is he dressed so funky even when it's very hot? Right? But because that was what it cost me. Apart from money, it cost me, all right, his fame. What did it cost you?
We're brutally honest on this conversation. I think my immigration story is a bit different from a lot of people because I treated migrating to Canada like a project. I weighed my risks. I took my opportunities. So in as much as I immigrated with my family in 2016, I did not fully relocate to Canada as a person until 2019. So my family was here. I was still holding my job back in Nigeria and doing the back and forth until I got the role with OPG when I was ready to come. So that gave me some form of soft landing. And I came into a company I chose. I chose the company I was coming into. I had researched the culture there, which was pretty similar to what I knew in Shell Nigeria, which is also an international company, right? So some of these challenges I didn't experience, right? It was almost like a seamless transition. However, I'd rather not look at what it cost me personally, but what some of these challenges can cost companies when they refuse to see the value that immigrants bring to the table, when they want to make all immigrants conform to exactly what they do. In that instance, they lose the value of inclusion that immigrants bring, and they're just stereotyping. It's like continuously doing the same thing and expecting different results because immigrants come with lots of experience, right? So if companies do not manage immigrants properly, they have more to lose than the immigrants that they are not managing properly. We're losing your audio, Charles.
I think what you just mentioned is a $1 trillion productivity loss based on a research by McKinsey a couple of years ago. I think last year or 2 years ago. It just showed that underutilized talent, when you refuse to use ABAS, immigrant professionals, the net effect is a $1 trillion. Hear that again, $1 trillion loss in productivity. But yet, we still see organizations refuse to fully utilize immigrant professionals. Now, that brings me to what I call prove it twice.
Charles,
yeah, okay.
You want to say something? Sorry. And to your point, you're absolutely right. You know why? Because organizations pay consultants to teach them about different culture when you have the individuals there that can teach you about the different culture. Right?
It is mind baffling.
Yeah. Like you have the people there. You have them there. So let's learn from them rather than go get a consulting company, pay 10 times more just to learn how the other culture works and how we can work with them. But we have it here. And that's why we're very fortunate. We're diverse to the point where we don't have to go outside. We have the resources internally. But unfortunately, I don't think all the organizations realize that, and all organizations are taking advantage of it.
And do not worry, my friend. That is why the four of us are here. We are going to keep advancing it if organizations hear about it. Right? We will. Eventually, they will hear. Right?
Yeah.
So let's go to the next topic, because that is something that is deeply provocative. I call it prove it twice. There's a somehow unwritten rule. Lots of us learned without being taught. You have to be twice as good to be considered half as ready. I want to make that rule very visible today. First of all, to Abbas, you eventually founded your own firms, Stratenex, JHMG. Be honest with the people watching who are thinking about doing the same. How much of your entrepreneurship was ambition? And how much of it was a ceiling you finally stopped waiting to break from the inside? The question is real for me because I never ever saw myself. I saw myself as a blue collar person in my entire life. But all of a sudden, I'm finding a passion for wanting to build and to create something of my own. And I'm going to be honest. That feeling did not come because it came. It came because I was deeply dissatisfied with what I see as my current output when I'm working. Or what I see as this is my product that I own, my intellectual property, not OPG's intellectual property, not Bruce Power's intellectual property. And I know the four of us here are founders. We didn't become founders because we had lots of money or we had lots of time. So the question is this: tell those listening, how much of this founding, book writing, how much of it is actually entrepreneurial? Be honest. And how much of it was, oh my goodness, I ain't gonna wait for them to give me Abbas?
I think it wasn't a lot of entrepreneurship. It was a lot of experience.
Oh, perfect. That's what I wanted to hear.
Right? Entrepreneurship, and you nailed it, Charles. Entrepreneurship is about getting the fundings, having the funding, building an empire. We do not have that. We started from the ground and moved up, right? Stratenex, I'll give you an example. Stratenex is actually a European company. I started in Europe. I just did research. I'm like, oh, I can get my my papers in Estonia, open a company there, and I can serve the European market. And Charles, I looked, and within I think 2 months, I had it up and running with Estonia, e-residency, bank account, you name it, right? Why? Because I don't think it's about entrepreneurship. I think it's about where we came from and what we saw and how we want to dictate our future. We want to dictate how we want to do things. We want to dictate what we want to do. And I think the key factor here is, and this may resonate, is also when we look at our kids. What do I want to leave them and what do I want to show them? I'm 49 now. I got my first master when I was in my 40s. My second master in the 40s, right? And my kids look at me like, oh, you got him now? I'm like, yeah, I got him now. But I think our entrepreneurship came from our resilience to fight, our resilience to aim for the star, we'll call it, because, we were all told, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you don't have it in you. No, I have it in me because I want to have it. I have it in me because I want to do it. I'm going to show everyone I'm going to do it, right? And I think that's what it is. But it wasn't about entrepreneurship or having the entrepreneurship. Again, my dad was an hoist engineer, construction, mechanical, you name it. But one thing he taught me is never limit yourself to one thing. Right? We had an issue. I started a company in 2000, Charles. I'm going to tell you this story because it shows you how we think and how they were thinking. I started a company in 2000. Long story short, we were running network cables for a company. We ran network cables. We spent the whole day trying to make sure the laptop connects to the jack going to the server. Once we connect the laptop, it doesn't work. We weren't connected. The jack to there was a connection. Anyways, long story short, I went home that night. My dad saw me, what's going on? I'm like, I've been spending all day trying to figure this out. He goes, what time are you going to the office tomorrow? Keep in mind, he's a hoist engineer, a crane operator. He goes, when are you going tomorrow? I'm going at 8 o'clock. He goes, wake me up. I go, okay, I'm coming with you. Sure. Next morning, he came with me. He brought his meter reader. We got there. He goes, okay, what is it? I go, here. He brought this, turn it on, turn it on. He brought this meter, he put it there. He goes, change these 2 wires. I changed the 2 wires, collect it worked. It had to be crossed. I'm like, are you kidding me? He looked at me and he's like, I won't say what he told me. And he just walked away. But he said one interesting thing to me. He goes, Abbas, in Iraq, I don't have the luxury when my crane breaks down. I don't have the luxury to go get a part. I have to develop it myself. We don't have it. Like here, I could go Princess Auto, go here, go here. And there's another thing he said to me is, he goes, here, you are limited to your field. You should not be limited to the field. And that's where our entrepreneurship, that's where our drive and desire came. We are not limited to one field. We're not limited to one thing. We are limited to many things. So, and this goes back to your earlier comment.
Yeah.
We have to bring our own voice out. So I'll stop there.
It's the same thing I would always tell folks that I happen to mentor. Do not stay in your lane. Staying in your lane makes you an absolutely capable professional. But that cross collaboration, collaborative skills, you don't get it, right? Now let's go to Archie's, my friend. You lecture at HEC. You helped co-author PMI's AI's book. You are, by any measure, an insider now, a part of the PMI family. So I'm going to ask you the uncomfortable insider question as someone who was once an insider, but is mainly looking out from the looking in from the outside. When you got into the room, did you hold the door, or did you become the gatekeeper you once resented? Where have you caught yourself underestimating the next immigrant with the accent? Every question I ask is based on my own weaknesses, because I've caught myself trying to be a gatekeeper every now and again. I'm like, come on, Charles, hold on. That's from Game of Thrones. Hold the door. Let others make it through. Still hold the door after they've made it through. Because they may have need to use that door again. So my friend, as an insider, and you got into the room, have you held the door? Not only in PMI, in your organizations. Have you deliberately held the door for another immigrant professional, deliberately mentored another immigrant professional who didn't know what they didn't know, so they didn't know they need a mentor? Tell us about it, and tell us what you're currently still doing to hold the door. You are a very accomplished man, my friend, and I'm immensely proud of you. But I'm more curious about how many doors have you held open? Tell us.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the comments, for the words as well. I think as we have both roles, right? One at a certain point we need someone to hold the door for us, and then we enter the room. And at the other moments, we are holding the door so others can come in. And I can speak for the PMI community and also for as immigrants. And this is exactly what we are doing now. We are holding the door for others who are living the same thing to get into the same room and to be successful, right? And at PMI, for example, for a number of years, I mentored young professionals, and most of them were immigrants as well. Newcomers, as we were calling them, like professionals that had already certifications from their that they obtained in their home countries, but they as I mentioned, they arrived in Canada. They had no network, they know nobody, they don't know where to go. Their CV is in the format that they use in their home country, which is very different here. I mean, sometimes they have picture, the address, how many kids they have, etc., etc. We don't do that in Quebec, at least. So they need some guidance. I did that for a number of years, and one event, one activity that I also facilitated, actually a workshop for newcomers, was exactly to explain some of the differences and how to perform as a newcomer, what to do. Do we invest in more studies? Do we invest in having our first professional experience? What is the highest priority? And what was interesting in these experiences, Charles, is that one day I had a room full of participants in this workshop, and all of them immigrants, newcomers from different countries, different continents. most of them already holding professional certifications with lots of experience behind them, but all of them except two ladies that were there. They were from Quebec, born and raised in Quebec, and they were there. And I said, look, are you sure that you are at the right workshop? Because that's I mean the room was full of immigrants, and it was beautiful what I heard at that day and from them. And they said yes, because I think one of them worked in a bank in Montreal, and she said, I'm surrounded by immigrants at work, so I came here to to learn about their reality. I want to learn what they're living, and so I can I be better prepared to work with them, to make them shine, to to create performing teams. So not only we hold the door, I think we have this mission to hold the door, because someone held the door for us once. So we need to hold the door for others to get to the room now. But also, I realized that when we open the door and we hold the door and say, "Come in, there's a space for you. There are opportunities for you. I'll tell you what to do. I'll tell you whatever I can based on my experience." So what you are doing, you are not only helping that person that is entering the door, because that person entering the door might be another one that will hold the door for others after. You're just multiplying the thing, multiplying the beauty of this initiative, right? And it's all about the entrepreneurship that we were just talking just before. It's all about creating the path. We pave the path, we create the path. We don't nobody's telling us what to do. So we create the path. And holding, I love this expression when you say hold the door. Are we entering the room? Are we holding the door? Yes, many times I do that, and I feel that it's part of my mission at PMI, because PMI once did that to me, but also in Canada in general, because the country also once opened the door for me. Someone held the door for me so I could get in the door. Now it's part of my mission to give back to the society, right? In this the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting conversations. I just want to boomerang off what Alchety said there, but I'll address it from 2 points. We started this conversation with immigrants have to work twice as hard, right, to prove themselves. I will touch on that, and then I'll finish with holding the door. So just bear with me. One thing I learned is that credibility sometimes is contextual, right? We talk about proving ourselves with credibility. So with my experience entering into a new environment, one doesn't, one may not immediately know what that experience means. What that means is the company or the environment you're entering may not immediately know what you know, because they know what they already know, right? They know how things are done, they know the people they have worked with, and they know the credentials they recognize. Credentials. So we have to work hard to show our credentials. So what that means is sometimes you have to build what we call local credibility, even though you already have global experience, right? And it's that local credibility that opens the door for you. Now, once that door is opened for you, it's your place to hold the door.
No, but can I pause you for just a minute? I'll let you. Please hold your pencil or your pen so you can have your train of thought. That's what I do coming prepared. Yeah. You talked about holding the door, and I'm going to piggyback quickly again to a personal experience. My wife, right? She's a HR professional, like I said, and she constantly has to watch herself when she wants to make a referral for a Black immigrant professional. So it doesn't seem like, okay, it's all nepotism. You're filling this place with Black people. There's a perception of that also. So how do you hold the door without giving fire?
That's exactly what I was going to touch when I said you have the responsibility to hold the door, right? I know I've got a number of colleagues from Bruce Power on this call. I've seen a few comments there, but we can speak frankly about that, right? So when I was privileged to demonstrate credibility and I got promotions in Bruce Power, to manage a portfolio. We needed skilled labor to meet up with our fast-paced work environment, skilled labor with the right competencies. And for me, that was the leveler, right? And some of those skilled labor with the right competencies came from most of the immigrant communities, right? So as long as you're playing according to the process in holding the door, there is no room for nepotism. I was privileged to interview over 100, no kidding, over 100 immigrants. I said no to maybe 60% of them, right? And that was just because we kept an open mind. We determined the rules of the interview and the level playing field before. So we weren't looking at faces, at color. We knew what the business needed to meet its objectives. So we made sure that the skills, the basic skills we were looking for could meet that. There were quite a number of immigrants too that skilled that. There were some that had potentials that we could bring in at certain level and grow them. They had the responsibility to demonstrate those competencies in the interviews, which they did. And we took them, we brought them in. Like you said, today we've got an array of immigrants in our organization in Bruce Power, all pulling weight and doing very good things, you know. And our immigrant community is recognized by the company today. If we're looking for openings to fill, some of us are approached. Hey, do you have friends of your type that can do this? It's a very common question. Now we are referring people, right? Because a lot of us have gone in there, not just myself. We've proven credibility and we have held the door till this day.
Okay. Now, quick crossfire, the three of you, I'm gonna let you go at each other, right? Now, the model minority myth says, keep your head down, keep working, and the system will eventually be fair. When Emeka, you said something, you competed, and you used the word compete. You competed regularly for every role that you got.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm one of those who would never compete because I think, my goodness, I'm doing a lot. My competence should be all of the lights that you need. Give me the positions. I ain't competing for nothing. Right? So when we do that, trust me, your competence becomes a trap. Every one of you, the three of you here, Attendees, Emeka, Abbas, you have walked the system. You've outworked the system. You walked it and you outworked the system. So let's tell the truth on a live stream. Did hard work actually get you here, or did something else? Maybe a sponsor, maybe luck, maybe a moment you refuse to be small. And what did you do? So it's the three of you. What got you here? Hard luck, a sponsor, mentorship, or you just keep. Let's go.
I think I'm going to speak from my personal experience,
Yes,
and
please.
this changed the trajectory of my career. It changed my path very much. I worked at an organization that I did the work for years, but I never got the title.
Say that again.
I worked for an organization that I did the work for years, but I never got the title.
Say that again,
So
so I can hear. I'm asking you to repeat for those at the back.
Yeah. Right. So what ended up happening is, and they put a posting for the position. I'm like, oh, perfect. It's on. I am doing the work. So I went to the hiring director. I'm like, hey, I saw you guys posting. He goes, yeah. I'm like, I qualify, right? Because I'm doing it. He goes, oh yeah, you qualify. Just put your name. We'll go through the process. Okay. Now, keep in mind, I started then, I was part of the PMI board. I was already project manager. I was doing the work, you name it. I put my name in. Anyways, long story short, I found out I didn't get the job.
Okay. Abbas, what you just named is a clear and present reality, not just for, I like to change the word immigrant professional with Canadians, because Canada is a country built on the strength of immigrants. We're a country of immigrants. So maybe very soon we're going to change this conversation from immigrant professional to Canadian professionals, because we're immigrants. But what you've named is very clear. How did that make you feel? You're doing the job, you competed like Emeka, and he said, Emeka, you've been doing the job. Emeka has been fortunate. Right? Maybe.
And I don't forget it until this day. And I think that's one of my drive. That's one of my drive, right? It was on a Thursday where I was meeting with the director to go over through some of the other items. And as him and I were talking, he goes, "Oh, so and so got the job." I go, "What?" He goes, "Oh, you didn't know? So and so that got the job did not even qualify 10% of what I was doing. Not 10%." Anyways, long story short, that same day, I don't know, I think the higher power was looking up. I got an email from the president of SWAC. "Hey, Abbas, this company is hiring project manager. You know anyone that's interested? Are you interested?" I'm like, "Did God just send me this?" This was on a Thursday. Monday was civic holiday. I let it alone. Friday, I thought about it. I'm like, hold on. And now I'm fuming. I am fuming, right? Monday comes along, holiday. Tuesday, I come to work. I go, "You know what? Screw this." Excuse my language. I email the HR. I'm like, "Hey, I got your email from so-and-so. You guys are hiring. Here's my attached. You'll find my resume." This was Tuesday. This was the person that told me I'd not qualify because so and so and so. This was Tuesday. Thursday, I got an email from the other company. "We want to interview you." I go, "Okay. When? Can you come next week, Tuesday?" I go, "Absolutely." Within a week, I go, "Next week, Tuesday." I do the interview. "Okay, we'll get back to you." 2 weeks later, I got another interview for the second one. Anyways, long story short, they offered me the job. I took the job. I took it and I left with 10% raise, not just with 10% raise of what I was doing. I was with that company for 6 months. They gave me another raise. And you know what they told me? They said, "We want to show you how much we value you, and we want to show you how much we want to keep you." Yet the previous job that I was with for 9 years, and I was doing it, let's give it to someone else who didn't even qualify.
Beautiful. So
Yeah. So
you chalk that to some elements of being uncomfortable in your spirit and deciding within your spirit, maybe directly or indirectly, that it was time to leave. And then all of a sudden, the universe decided, all right, Abbas is ready. So there's an element, some people call it God, some call it Allah, whatever your faith is.
Yeah.
I want to ascribe it sometimes to the universe, like it listens, and that is God. So
But you know what it is?
Yes.
And sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. You know what it is? And you said it earlier. It's because we open the door for others. So what goes around comes around, my friend. The good you do, it comes back. And that's how I see it. The good you do comes back because we open the door for others in our position.
Actually, do you want to jump on that?
Yeah, Chad. So getting back to your question and building on what Abbas just said. I mean, you said, look, what took you to where you are now? Is it? And you mentioned three words, at least three possible answers, right? Sponsorship, hard work, and luck. You mentioned these three expressions. So I can tell you right away, very frankly, it was not sponsorship. Nobody sponsored me ever. That's not the case. So let's get that out of the way. Now, I can say that I'm a very lucky person. I'm a very lucky person, Charles. And you know what? I believe in that expression that someone said once, "The harder I work, the luckier I get." And why is that? Because the more you put into it, the more hard work you put into it, your eyes are open, you are alert, you look for opportunities, your brain is open for the signals that let's put it this way, the universe gives you. And then the more you work hard and you're more connected to everything that is around you, you're more open to see the opportunities. And then you find yourself in a position that others might think you are lucky. "Oh, you're so lucky you got that opportunity. You're so lucky." Yes, I'm so lucky. Look, but you don't see all the hard work that I had behind me to get to the point where I have here. There's an expression, even in my home country, we say, you see the shots that I take, but you don't see every time I fall when I'm drunk. So we don't see when normally people don't see when you fall. They don't see, or they don't care, or they believe it's they minimize that. But the thing is, to get where we all are now, at least the four of us, let's put it this way, we fell a lot. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it hurts. I mean, I lost my job when the pandemic kicked in. I was working in the aviation industry, so I lost my job in the pandemic. I lost. There's so many stories that we can tell about when we fell. But the key is, what did we do with that experience, right? We just need to stand up and continue. So giving back to those three expressions, sponsorship, no, that's absolutely not. I consider myself a very lucky person, but lucky in the way that it comes from hard work that comes behind.
To be honest, my friend, lots of people are chipping in on the concept of luck online, right? I think luck is simply an acronym. I've dealt with luck as an acronym for the longest time of my life. Maybe that's why I work so damn hard. When you labor under correct knowledge, you are damn sure to get a result. It doesn't matter how long it takes. As long as
I love it.
you're under correct knowledge, it's a no-brainer. Emeka?
Yep.
I think, yeah, like you said, we got ourselves, and we have to bring in our own personal perspectives and biases too in this conversation. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a faith-based person, right? So I don't believe in luck. I believe in grace, uncompromised, right? But behind that grace, I believe in hard work, because there is so far, forgive my language, there's so far bullshit can take you to, but it can't keep you there, right? So if you just keep getting sponsored all the way up without having the substance to back up where you have been placed, you'll self-destruct, right? So hard work for me has always been key. I've always been a fan of nobody's coming to save you, so you've got to get up and do it. And right from when I was finishing university, as a young guy back home in Nigeria, we started seeing Forez. We started operating at that level, right? That was my first entry into entrepreneurship. We've built an empire in that space, even if I'm working here in Canada and putting my 9 to 5 here, but that's a concern running solely on its own and doing very well on its own. So again, credibility helps you build relationships. Credibility and hard work go hand in hand. And when you have shown hard work, everybody wants you to be on their team. That's when subtle sponsorship comes into play, because I'm a hiring manager, or I was a hiring manager, and I have 1,001 resumes. Everybody is competent. At the end of the day, who do I take? It has to be someone I have worked with, that I know I can vouch for the person's work, before some other person that I don't know, even if they also look very good on paper, right? And that's where sometimes sponsorship too comes into the equation. But behind that person must have shown me that he can do the work, he's got the skills, he's got the competency. Yeah. And then above all that, the grace that also opens the door for the person and keeps the person. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? And then at the end of the day, you're rising to the top. But your skills, your hard work will keep you there. Go ahead, Abbas.
And sorry, and also keep in mind, there is also another equation to it, the equation of letting them know what you want to do, because hard work gets you so far. But I also saw the flip side of hard work. You work hard, they love your work.
And they keep you there.
Why should I?
And you're as a delivery specialist. They come there.
Yeah, keep you there and say, why should I promote him when he's doing the good job here for me? That he's making me look good. Why should I promote him? So we gotta be careful, right? But you're right, hard work pays everything. And one of my years I was working, I had this, and I say he was my mentor in the hospital. Every time I see him, he goes, Abbas, one day I'm going to work for you. I'm like, no, you're not. He was my boss. He goes, one day I'm going to work for you. I'm like, no, you're not. Truly, 10 years later, we went to a different company. So when I left, when he left the hospital, I left after him. I went to a different company. I called him up, hey, you want to come here? He's like, yeah. He ended up getting a job there. He worked there. He left that company, went somewhere else. He called me up, hey, Abbas, I'm here. Do you want to come here? I'm like, yeah. Okay. So anyways, we're hiring. I ended up going there. Long story short, they let go of the PMO director. and they promoted me to the PMO lead. The person that used to tell me I'm going to work for you one day was actually working for me one day, right? So hard work plays a big factor, but we have to also be careful because, again, I'm not saying don't work hard. We all work hard. Hey, before this call, like literally before this call, I was on another call with PMI, and Alcidius knows what I'm talking about, right? With a different group, we're working on other stuff as well too, right? Last night I was on a call until 9 p.m. We work hard because not just we have a drive, it's also our experience taught us that we have to work hard, and we enjoy it. That's the other element. We actually enjoy working hard. When my daughter, who's only 6 years old, tells me, "Hey, Dad, you have a call tonight," and that's at 9 p.m. before she goes to bed. What does that tell you? They always see you on a call.
Yep.
So hard work plays an element, luck plays another element, but I think again the universe also pays back. And as Alcidius say, right, the more you work, the more you notice, the more the more people know, and they don't realize that what happens at the end. No one, if you look at people right now and you talk to them, no one knows our story. No one knows what we went through to get where we are today. When I work at Global First Canada, the first time I told them when I was displaced, everybody's like jaw dropped, like, what? What do you mean? Like, yeah, I lived through the Iran-Iraq war. We were deported. At the age of 11, I came to Canada. I've seen war. I've seen dead bodies. I had to run to shelter. We used to, as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, please tell me.
You've walked to actual landmines, not hypothetical landmines.
Actual landmines that people died. But at 7, 8 years old, please tell me which 7, 8 years old builds a bunker because they think it's going to save them.
Wow.
Where? We built a bunker. I was 7, 8 years old, I swear. We built a bunker. And the funny part, we got in trouble by the city because they thought we moved the tree. I'm like, we didn't touch a tree. We built a bunker because we thought it's going to save us. But in reality, a direct hit's not going to save you. So no one knows our story. No one knows, and to Alcidius' point, no one knows how many times we felt to get where we want to get. But you know what's interesting? We're survivors. We get up. We fall, 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 we get up.
Okay. You want to add to that before I go to the next round?
Maybe you will open a Pandora box here, but politics. I saw a comment coming up on the screen here talking about politics and the how it can hinder or how it can foster, the progression, evolution, or how. Yes, exactly. Walter, I think. Yeah, exactly. How to play the politics, and Abbas just said, look, we need to work hard, but at the same time, if we work too hard, we will never get promoted because the boss wants to keep your hard work there, etc., etc. Well. Politics can go two ways, right? Can help you if you do it right. If you play the game in a way that is positive for everyone, for the society. If you make yourself visible, if you make your leadership available and as I said, visible. So that's part of the politics, but it can go the other way as well. It can just as I mean, I'm sorry, Abbas, I'm referring to your stories again, but that position that you didn't get, and there was politics behind that. Yeah. And I lived a similar story as well. I mean, once I was a candidate for a position, and that I didn't get the position, and I saw the movement in the election time that people were voting for my adversary, and the next day, well, she got the position, and on the next day, very next day, the president of the company called me and said, Alcides, I saw that you filed your candidacy, you didn't get the position. Well, that happens, right? It's not the end of the world. By the way, can you help that lady do a part of the work, because you know what to do and she doesn't.
My friend, hold on. Watching myself popping off fuse.
Yeah. So imagine how I felt, right? But that was a big hit for me. I could have given up, right? I said, look, this is not for me. This organization is not for me. This is not my thing. But we just stand up, we rise, and we continue. we continue in the right direction. So talking about politics, just to summarize before getting you to the next question, Charles, it can go both ways, and it's all about the values that you bring, the values that you. And someone just wrote, I think Tia just wrote about self-advocacy in the comments here.
Yep.
Everything gets back to your values. What do you have here inside you that motivates you to which direction you're going? Because politics will be always present, and the more you go up, the more you'll be facing them and living them and breathing them, like it or not. So the fundamental question that you need to ask yourselves is, what am I doing? I mean, am I going to the direction that I believe is the right one? That's the thing. Because there will be forces pushing you to the wrong direction. There will be the dark force of the, and there will be forces just pushing you to the right direction. It's you who decide which direction you go.
Sorry. I just want to touch on the whole politics thing, Charles. Just give me a minute.
Let's not spend time on politics.
No. Yeah, I won't spend time on it. But this is a big concern for us immigrants, right? We come into a new culture and we want to be by ourselves, thinking that our competencies will make a way for us, which they do, but we get into that competency trap, right? Most times. What I've come to understand that is that what we call politics is simply building relationships. If you've not related enough within your team, you'll never be invited to the table. This table is not at work. It's outside work, for golf tournaments, for drinks, for dinners, for birthday parties in people's houses, right? Until you relate enough to break into certain cliques, there's so much hard work will take you. Even if you work hard, even if you work smart, you'll remain in a competency gap. But then when you've built relationships, they trust you beyond your work ethics. They trust you because they know your value system now, because they've interacted with you in completely different environments, right? I've worked with a team where they never trust you enough until they've seen you drunk. Because when they've seen you drunk, they see the other side of you, right? Yep. So if you're ever invited for a hangout and for whatever reasons or biases you have, you'll be like, no, I don't want to go. You're denying yourself certain opportunities, within the organization. So just keep an open mind and know that work is not all you do in the office. Part of work is what you do outside the office. And what happens outside the office most times governs who gets what in the office.
And you nailed it there. And I had some friends who, people also from the same community who complain, oh, we can't get a job, we can't do this. I'm like, what are you doing? Did you do this? Did you do that? No. So what are you waiting for? And this goes back to, you need to let your voice heard. I used to go play squash with my leader. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed it, and we used to go play squash, right? So that brings out a different perspective. That brings out different element, and they can see you in a different way as well too. Not just seriousness at work. Oh, this is the way the person is. I've had my boss come over to our house for barbecue, and we enjoyed it, right? But I think it's also for the newcomers. It's that whole notion of bring themselves with their own community only and together. And what that does is that distinction. Look at Europe. My wife is from Sweden, and I've gone to Sweden. I've got some part of Sweden. I swear, I'm like, am I in Sweden? But that's the wrong thing, because they all communicate and stay together, and they don't want to go outside. You would have to go far. Go to Dearborn, Detroit. You have people who live there for 30 years who still do not know English because they work with the same culture. They come home, watch the same TV, the same language, and they're still there. So I think we need to kind of, we need to also insert ourselves of how we want to be. There's that perspective that we need to also think about as well too. We can't isolate ourselves from others.
Okay. So one lesson, profound lesson I'm taking away, and I'm going to highlight it for the audience, is this. One of the keys as an immigrant professional to gaining strategic visibility, executive presence, and executive advantage is what Emeka, Alchides, and Abbas just said, mainly on it. And that is It is what happens outside of work that actually determines how far you would rise within that organization. I'm a witness to this. If you're not being invited to the parties, if you're not being invited to the camp trips, if you're not being invited out in summer, it's summer and you've not had any invitation, Charles, you've not had any, okay, you gotta get one. If you've not had any, create one. Be the one to invite your colleagues for a barbecue. Give them a reason to come, right? Ask them for their favorite meal. Put some intentionality into it. Trust me, you may do it once and only one person shows up. But ensure that that person that shows up leaves with a beautiful story of how wonderful you are in terms of a human being. That is the first key. And that is the earliest indicator that you're going to rise within the organization. Because the truth is, half of the time you ain't there when they meet in the groceries, you ain't there when they banter. And it is this bantering that actually gets the work done.
Mm-hmm.
I've been outside before. We arrange all of the work. I'm like, all right, this is how it's going to go, blah, blah, blah. And I drove back 3 hours to Ottawa. They met, the work crew met in town. And they had a different idea how we should go. And they all brainstormed. I was not there. And guess what? They implemented what they felt was the right thing to implement because they all agreed off-camp. They implemented an off-camp solution on site. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not part of the story, you're being discussed. You got to find a way to be part of that story. And that brings me to my next round of questions. About you get a lot of times, right? It's about difference. Our difference is or can be a capital.
Absolutely.
Today is our promise is difference. How do we turn difference into strategic advantage? Not theoretical, but practical. Let's come to you, Attendees, my friend. AI is rewriting your entire field. You're one of the authors for PMI's AI in project management. But the truth is, the immigrant's brain, you, Emeka, Abbas, our brain has been doing AI core skills for years because we've been translating between systems. We've been reading context no one wrote down, adapting on the fly. So because we've been subconsciously doing all of this, would you say the immigrant executive is actually better positioned for the AI era rather than the person who's only ever operated inside one culture, one language, one playbook?
Yes, you know why? Because we don't realize that.
Why are you jumping in to ask this question? Why are you doing that? Hold on, Bobby. I'm going to come to you now. All right, take it away, Abbas. I'm sure.
You know why? Because all of us here know how to adapt. All of us here know how to adapt. Every single immigrant was displaced, moved to a different country. What's the first thing you learn? The first thing you learn is how to adapt to the situation. What's AI about? AI is about adapting to new technology, and we're all afraid of AI is going to take our jobs, but we know how to adapt. These are the things from immigrant side as these small leadership things that we don't realize we're learning, but we're learning them down the path of from where we came to where we are, that we learn new things, resilience, adapting, right? Leadership. We led before we became a leader. We were leading before we were given the title of being a leader. So from the AI era, I think we're better equipped because we know how to adapt. And that's why look at the Y2K, for example. Look at the .com. Look at all this stuff. We adapted pretty well. Look at COVID. We adapted, right? And I think that's one thing we know. And again, I speak for myself as well too. When I came to Canada in grade 6, I was a kid, grade 6, right? I adapted to the school system. The school system I came from was different. You know, my first, and I tell my wife, I joke to her about that, and she's like, "Oh, here we go again," right? I did not know how to play a single music instrument. I was standing there while all my classmates were playing music, and you know how I felt? I felt like crap. They all know how to, but I adapted, I learned. So from an AI perspective, I think we know the biggest thing with AI is adapting to it.
Yep.
And people are afraid of it. And when they're afraid of it, they don't want to adapt. I did a conference, webinar for the PMI Belgium. After when I was done, one of the individuals wrote on there, "I'm no longer afraid of AI. Thank you very much." Because everybody thinks AI is going to take their job, right? But AI is not going to take our job. AI still needs that human element. We all need to make that decision at the end of the day. And in our cases, we came to this country, whether we were professions, whether we were kids, whether we adapted one way. We all had to struggle, adapted, right? So I think AI, from an AI perspective, and I'm speaking from the art side of it, not the science side of it. From an immigrant side, we've been through so much that this is a piece of cake for us. Like, okay, we'll deal with it. We can do it. We'll adapt to it. That's my perspective. So I'll open the floor to the rest.
Attendees, do you agree? I kind of have a slightly different perspective, but I would like Attendees to take this away. What do you think? Because this is your bread and butter.
I think I'm not ready to say that immigrants are better positioned to face AI or to deal with AI than non-immigrants, but I'm trying to get what is behind this thought. So what factors make us think or believe or motivated your question saying that immigrants? So it's the fact that we are adaptable, we can adapt, we have exposure to multiple cultures, and this is all positive. But other individuals and professionals, they can be exposed to different cultures and culturally savvy without being an immigrant, and they can be as well open-minded as an immigrant in this sense. So I'm not ready to say that immigrants are better positioned. What I can say is that we might have an open-minded that not everybody has, because we are exposed to different cultures already. We needed to learn how to deal and perform and survive in different cultures, and with different mindset. And AI brings a different mindset to the table. And that's the thing. So it's just like learning another language. So you might have heard, or you might agree with me that when we say that learning a second language is hard, but learning the third one is easier than learning the second one, because once you have a second language in your mind already, your brain already knows that, oh, there are other ways of thinking. So when you start studying a third language, maybe a fourth language, it's easier. So it's the same thing. If you are already exposed to different mindsets because you come from a different culture, AI brings a different mindset. So you say, oh, a different mindset. I know what adaptation in a context of a different mindset means. I know what that means. So I can work that. IT. Though individuals that are not coming from an IT background, they can perform very well in the AI environment because there is space there are all kinds of spaces for performing in the AI world now, other than being the ones who are coding or prompting and etc. There's so much more about that, but it's all about looking at the world from a different mindset, from a different perspective, and that's the factor that makes immigrants maybe more the level of readiness is higher for AI. But I wouldn't limit that to immigrants, because as I said, I mean, many professionals that I work with are very, very sensitive to multiple cultures and etc. and different mindsets, and that could be also at their advantage.
Perfectly put. Rebecca.
Okay, thanks for that, Alcides. It's one thing to have the potential to adapt.
I'm going to add a different question for you, except you want to chime in on this.
Yeah, I'm just chiming in on this very briefly. So it's one thing to have the potential to adapt. It's another thing to adapt, right? When I think Abbas talked about it, the Y2K revolution back then, it creates a lot of fear in the hearts of people. But one thing we need to know is whatever you water grows. If you spend some time to start looking at the whole AI bubble and the value chain across the AI ecosystem, you'll find opportunities for yourself to begin to understand these concepts. Already, AI is in the workplace, right? You've got tools that help you write emails. You've got tools that help you do research for companies that have really adopted some of these AI tools. Copilot is there, ChatGPT, different versions, right? So for the fact that immigrants inherently demonstrate the potential to adapt doesn't mean that
Are we not tired of adapting already? Yeah.
So let's stop the adaptation and start doing. I think that's the summary of my message. Thanks, Oge.
I kind of like this. But the truth is, because change is the only constant thing in life,
Yeah.
it's either you adapt or you get left behind. It's as simple as that. It is not getting with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
It is you want to be the Joneses. Because if you're not the Joneses, someone else is the Joneses you're trying to become. Right? So I'm sorry, Oge, but we just got to keep adapting because the world is dynamic. It's and we definitely got to move with the world, right? Even though we're tired of doing this.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I love the question, and I see that you are certified as a ProSci and PMP. So this is an interesting combination. The CPM AI, so AI in the background as well. So this is a very interesting combination. Congratulations on all these certifications, by the way. And that reminds me. This question reminds me one workshop that I attended, one conference actually about change management. Right, change management, and the ProSci was there, and the keynote said, "Are humans resistant to change?" And then some people raised the hand, naturally resistant to change. And then he said, "Look, not really. Some people are not resistant to change; they are just tired of changing." Think about these organizations that they changed the leadership in the last 5 years. They changed the president 4 different times. They changed the system 3 different times. And then when there's a new change that comes, some people will just react negatively, say, "Oh, it's not because they're resistant to change. They're just tired." Okay, too many changes. But I think Charles nailed it when he said, "Look, immigrants don't have this luxury. We cannot be tired of changing. We cannot be tired of adapting because we go up and down. We go up and down, and we fall, and we continue. And if we ever get tired of adapting, we die. Right? We cannot survive."
And plus,
I love the question.
And look at the world. It's uncertainty. Uncertainty is coming every year, every couple of months. There's always uncertainty, and if we can adapt to it, then as Alcides indicated, we won't be able to survive, right? So we have to adapt, and adapting it as well. Actually, it's learning something new.
Yeah,
it's something new that we're learning.
True. Emeka, let's come to the next question. No, we're still on difference as a strategic advantage, right? Difference can be both a strategic advantage and a disadvantage. So my question for you is this. Give me a project, name the stakes, whatever it is, right? Think about it. Think about a time where the very thing that made you an outsider was the one thing that made you succeed. The very thing that made you an outsider became the reason you succeeded. I'll put this in context for you. For me, I'm kind of regarded as the truth surfacer. And the sad thing with it is I'm learning how to regulate it. In the past, I'm gonna give it to you exactly how I think it is, right? But that was with a lot of that didn't demonstrate emotional intelligence. But eventually, that brashness, that brutal honesty, that radical candor was the one thing my folks, senior folks, were looking out for in some meetings. Where's Charles? Go get him, right? And that led me to start looking at another stakeholder group that I call the designated challenger. We need to institutionalize the role of the designated challenger. That one person that is different, radical, put him in the room and let him look at things from a different perspective. Emeka, Have you ever been invited to the room because your perspective was different, just for the reason that this guy is different? We know he's different. We know he's going to play the devil's advocate, but let's get him in the room to hear his dissenting voice.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. I think, go ahead.
No, please.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's my daily life, right? Because I think all my life, even becoming an immigrant in Canada, I've been true to myself, right? I've held on to values. I've spoken out for what I believe is right. I've upheld processes. I've looked for opportunities to improve these processes. Then becoming an immigrant, that was one of the hidden advantages I came with, right? The ability to see what people that have spent their entire lives in other societies, other organizations can see when they just come into a new environment, right? It takes a level of experience to be able to see through chaos. In some instances, it's a gifting. In some other instances, it's all part of your development. Having done the same thing multiple times, you can easily identify where the weak spots are and suggest opportunities on how to fix them. So for me, I'm able to speak out. I said earlier, I'm a naturally motivated person. I don't live in fear. I'm able to speak out, speak truth to power, and tell them this is how.
At home and you don't really care about
No, not that I don't care. We do everything respectfully.
Emboldened to speak the truth sometimes, right?
Yeah.
When we speak the truth, it's because we're emboldened. Either because
Exactly.
because the truth has consequences. And
Definitely.
the folks that don't speak the truth, it's not because they don't want to speak the truth. It's because of the ripple effect, the consequences of the truth that are not able to face. Right. So when you speak the truth, you're tagged. You're done.
So it depends. It depends on how you speak that truth, right?
Okay.
We also have to be careful. We have to be respectful. We need to understand the jurisdiction and the confines in which we're making our point, right? So at the end of the day, it doesn't come out as offensive. Yeah. I know in some instances you might want to speak truth in a certain way, but it's better done one-on-one, right, with senior leadership. Yeah. Of course, not in an open setting where they will feel challenged. But then when you're invited to a meeting where you're supposed to be the dissenting voice, you also have to be diplomatic. That's where the cultural intelligence comes to play, right? That they can accept the truth you're bringing to them because you're looking at it from an organizational standpoint that will align with what the organization wants to benefit. So it comes with lots of experience, lots of growth. What you bring from multiple diverse environments outside Canada, and then when you come with that, that's one of the hidden talents you come with to any organization. So the immigrant is not just bringing skill, but bringing a reference point. Like you said, when they want truth, you're that person they call on. When they want to solve the dirtiest of problems, you're the one person they call on. You become the reference point as a solution provider.
Yep. I remember something one of my bosses said to me, was it 15 years ago? And he called me into his office and said, Charles, you got to be careful. I said, what do you mean, sir? He said, telling the truth about what you know is not the same thing as saying all you know. And I paused. And I said, but that's the essence of the truth. No? He said, no, that is not the essence of the truth. The essence of the truth is to dish it out in ways that people can receive it without feeling maligned. Dish it out in bits, and that takes emotional intelligence. So, doesn't mean you should tell the truth about all you know about that situation. Food for thought. Now, before we leave this section, Emeka, you have something to say?
And remember, your truth might not be my truth. You remember the analogy in number 6, both of us standing at opposite ends. My truth is number 6, your truth is number 9. So until you change sides and listen to what the other person is saying, you may never come to a common ground of truth.
So this is where we do the stakeholders analysis.
All right. Now, before we leave this session, rapid fire, just one word. I'm going to make a sentence, and I would invite you to complete the sentence with one word. The advantage they never saw coming was. What was the advantage for you they never saw coming? Just one word.
Determination.
Determination, the advantage they never saw coming for you, about
Sorry,
Resilience.
last second there.
resilience. Yeah, I was going to say resilience for myself too. Actually, this was it for you?
Oh yeah, I just said resilience. Does that count?
Oh, you said resilience. It's Emeka that we lost. Emeka, are you still here with us? What's
Yeah,
your
I'm
word?
here. For me, it's the community that I eventually brought.
The
The people.
advantage never
Yeah.
saw coming was the community you brought. That is deep.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we've done the arrival, we've done the tax, we've done the advantage. One more act left. We've got less than 30 minutes. And I call this what must change. Somewhere in this audience is a 34-year-old with a foreign degree and a Canadian mortgage, wondering if it's worth it. I'm on a 30-year mortgage and I'm asking myself, is it worth it? Now let's speak to them directly and to the system that keep losing them. Emeka, I'll start with you. What advice would you have for the immigrant professional who is exhausted from proving themselves and quietly planning their exit from this country? Research has shown that the rate of skilled workers emigrating Canada is alarming. The rate of emigration is alarming. And these are highly skilled folks who came here on the promise of a better life. And suddenly, the better life seems maybe too far-fetched, like a dog-eat-dog's world, or constantly struggling. So, to that immigrant professional who is exhausted from constantly proving themselves, what do you say to them? Not the motivational version, but the true version. What do you say to that immigrant professional that is beating from constantly showing that I am capable? Can you not see me? I've got the certifications. I am building the community. What else do I have to do for you to see me? Do I have to leave and start afresh? What is your candid advice for them, Emeka? Sir Chukwemeka.
So yeah, you ask for a candid advice, and I'll be frank with everybody here. Immigration is a choice. For those that came when they were 11, they didn't have a choice, right? I was already in the prime of my career when I made that choice to come to Canada. And if you make that choice to migrate from home and come to Canada, you must be aware of the challenges that immigrants face. There are no jobs in Canada. That's the truth. It's a stark truth we've got to face, right? So you have to treat your migration as a project. And when you're treating it as a project, you can treat it in phases.
Okay, hold on, Emeka, but not everybody is a project management professional that has the leadership choice to make those risk assessments. We break it down.
Yeah.
Break it down.
Okay. Okay. So that's the reason why when you look at the concept of soft landing, you must have people that have gone ahead of you and you can ask questions. Some people managed their immigration to Canada in phases. I did that. I had lived in the UK, a bit in the US before I decided for Canada. So I knew how to manage, knowing that if I'm in Canada with my family and there is no income to pay checks, either I'll quarrel more and fight more with my wife, or we'll pack our bags and go back home. But in that instance, I may have severed the good job I had at home to do that. So what did I do? I chose a phased approach. Family was here. I kept going back and forth till I got what I wanted here. And what I wanted here was not the lowest of jobs. It was something decent that could still help us maintain our lifestyle. And that was my entry point. And then we continue to grow from there. What I've seen in some instances is the excitement of migrating to Canada. People shut down very good livelihoods at home and come to ground zero in Canada with a hope. Now, it is not wrong to have a hope or to have faith, but we must be real to ourselves, right? How much have you saved that can carry you for 1 year if you don't have a job? Do you have that stash, somewhere that can keep you going? If you don't, then I'll advise that you transition your immigration as a phased approach. However, you've already made the mistake. You've shut down from your home country and you're here. When you come in here, there are a lot of faith-based organizations. You start building relationships. People will guide you. People will begin to trust you. People will give you opportunities. I met a number of immigrants that came in after us in our church, and I introduced them to opportunities. Some of them are in Bruce Power, some of them are in OPG today, by mentoring them through the process on how to find something. It didn't happen overnight. For some, it took a year, right? For some, it took 6 months. But what are you exposing yourself to when you first decide to immigrate? Manage that as a project, and you would have less worries. So that's my candid advice. But if you're already here, keep building the relationships. Make sure you're active in communities. It's from those communities that opportunities spring off.
And use your God-given mouth.
Yeah. Speak.
Yes,
Speak.
In the past, it was saying that when you ask, you are weak. But the true hallmark of a leader is one who knows where to ask for help.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was playing with changing jobs, and I mentioned it in passing to Emeka. The young man said on my left. Before I knew it, I had an interview on my table. And I'm like, I actually wasn't ready. But I went to the interview. Of course, I blew them out of the waters, and then the offer came, and I said, no, I'm not ready yet.
Charles broke my heart. We opened the door, he refused to walk here.
That was just to say that I know he holds the door open. And for every immigrant professional, we owe it to ourselves to hold the door open. Abbas, you've built organizations and served the public sector. Give leaders or people watching one thing to stop doing tomorrow, not today. One thing they can stop doing that quietly filters out immigrant talent. You know, there are things we are known for, right? As immigrants, that is a bias against us. Sometimes we are seen as loud, right? Sometimes we're seen as always wanting to challenge constituted authority. We're seen as challenging, right? That is immigrant professional. So what is one thing from all of your years globetrotting, consulting, leading initiatives, what would one advice you would give an immigrant professional to stop doing? Because this helps filters out immigration talent or immigrant talent. And what is one thing that actually moves the needle beyond all of these diversity statements? I'm an immigrant. Yeah, what is one thing that actually moves the needle?
I think the biggest key factor is keep on moving. Don't get yourself in that trap. Oh, I am an immigrant here. I can't find the job. You're now talking negative to yourself where you're blocking yourself from getting it. No, tell yourself you're going to do it and take the move and take charge. That's the key. Take charge. Don't let others dictate. You want to further your career? Go find a networking. Go meet, like Alcedia said, call up whomever you want to, meet with them for lunch, have a discussion. As Emeka indicated as well, to talk to your community. I think you are the key. You are the driver. And that's the part that a lot of us forget. We tend to say, oh, I can't get this because so-and-so company is not going to hire me because of me being this or that. No, you need to start making the way. You pave the way. You open the door. You have the keys in your hand and you tell yourself you're going to do it. You're going to do it. Do not set yourself in the trap that, oh, I can't find the job. And I've seen a lot of people, I can't find it because I'm an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. I'll see this immigrant. You're an immigrant. He's an immigrant. Where are we today? Because we took charge.
You can't find it.
Yeah, we took charge. And I think one of the key factors I will tell anyone, take charge. Because, sometimes we may be very close and not know it. And when we give up, we're back to this, and again, and I will go to what Emeka said as well, too. It's a choice. You decided to come here, right? So why are you giving up now? Don't give up.
Yeah.
Someone is accusing us with questions on YouTube. The answer too. I haven't seen any question on YouTube yet that haven't surfaced. So if you could please ask your question, I'm sure Abbas, Alcides, and Emeka would do justice to it. Now, Alcides, let's come to you. You mentioned young professionals entering the field. What did no one tell you that you wish you knew earlier? Maybe something, a sentence you wish someone has said to you at 30 or 4 years ago or 5 years ago or 6 years ago that you now make sure to say to every immigrant professional you mentor. So it's a core part of your value system. It's something you drum into that head. I'm curious. What is that statement? What is your principle? What values do you directly transfer to these folks that you mentor? And how can you transfer some of that value in real time, maybe in less than 5 minutes to our audience?
Yeah. So there there are many ideas or thoughts to share, but I would say I would focus on um, uh, don't think that you are limited because you are coming from a different culture. Many young professionals or even professionals that are experienced and come to the country with experience already coming from abroad, they think they are handicapped because of that. And it's a mindset that needs to change. So today I can say very easily, I can say, look, this country has opportunities for everyone. And if you are competent and if you have the right attitude, you will succeed and you will get whatever you want here. Whatever success means to you, you will get it. And don't think that you need to take too many steps to get to it. No, 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 no. Sometimes it's easier than you think. Sometimes it's a mindset. If you think so, I like one something that I learned in the past. I love this expression. Someone once told me, if you think you can, if you think you can do it, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right too. So it's all in your mindset. If you believe that you cannot reach a certain position professionally, you won't get it. But if you believe you can, you will. You will find a way. So I myself, I found myself in this with this wrong mindset in the beginning of my career here. I found myself with this with this limited mindset, saying, "Look, Alcides, you got so much to do here to be seen, to be close to being part of the club, or you need to learn the language, you need to learn the culture, you need to do this and that." But it's all in your mind. If you change your mindset right in the beginning, your path will be more successful faster. It's all here. It's all here. And that's the thing. I mean, don't blame people. Sometimes people blame the system and they say, "Oh, I'm trying to get there, but the company didn't allow me, or the government, I cannot get to the health, medical, whatever." If you're blaming others, you won't go far. Just put the responsibility on yourself. Pave your way to your success, whatever success means to you. And that's the mindset that you need to have right in the beginning, since the beginning.
One more question. And this is because they keep saying, bring your real self to work. Who has met your real self? How much of the person who succeeded is actually you? And how much is a character you build for the camera? And your whole career, how many times have people actually met the real you? I leave that for any of you to jump into. I see America just smiling. Why are you smiling?
So Charles, I'll answer this in a very fun way. Um, we are all actors and actresses in the workplace. That's why every job has a job description, and every actor fits that role. I think the key thing is getting up and delivering, demonstrating a can-do attitude to work. Outside that workplace, in the homes, it's a completely different job description. We've got other responsibilities, other acts to play. As a father, you have to be lovable to your kids, to the wife, right? You don't have to show those same qualities at work, in as much as you show them in different ways. Empathy is across board, right? But like you can't compare yourself at home with yourself at work. But what is key is you have to understand what role you need to play in each instance and show up to meet the requirements of that role. So you must get your acts right and be a great actor.
You must
That's
get,
me being honest.
yeah,
I think
speechless.
Look,
you
I
nailed it. Sorry. You nailed it.
Abbas.
You nailed it. And you know, we have different roles. We wear different hats, right? And sometimes, like you said, it's an actor as well too. But I think if we speak honest, if I can speak to myself, I am happy where I am today. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of falling down. It took a lot of stress. I've dealt with individuals that made my life hell because they had the power, because they were also unsecure of themselves, right? So I think it's the fact that are we happy? Yeah, again, and we wear different hats, different hats at different stages. We tend to be honest at some areas, and some of them we kind of tweak it a little bit because again, it's the politics side of it. But I think from a key perspective, I can tell you everything that I've gone through, and I will be purely honest with you. I've had days where I want to give up. I had days I hated my life. I had days where I asked myself, why am I here? I had all those days, but and then, there's a purpose for me being here. I used to tell myself when we first came to Canada, we were the only one from my family. It was me, my siblings, and my parents. We were the only one here. We had no cousin, no uncles, no one. Growing up, having Eid and whatnot, and not having anyone to go to, that's hard. But today, when I look at our kids and when I look at my siblings and we look at how it is, I thank my dad every day for what he sacrificed to bring us here. It was a struggle, but now I look at my kids; they have everything they need to. So, what I'm trying to say is, we've all struggled. We've all had to put on a smile face at days that we wanted to give up. We all had to get up in the morning and push for and when we didn't want to give up, we didn't want to get up, but we all did. And I think that's the key factor of us. We give up, we don't give up because there's a bigger purpose for us.
Okay, now, before we go, I'd like us to quickly. There's someone joining who wants to avoid the mistake immigrant professionals make. So, Archidis, from your own perspective, Chuketsa, from your own perspective, Abbas, from your own perspective. Let's make it quick because we're racing against the clock right now. We've got 10 minutes remaining, and we've still got a lot to unpack. So, what would you say to Mike that wants to immigrate? Based on your experiences,
I can say this question for me is key, is fundamental. It makes a total difference in the successful immigration project. And the mistake not to make is to think that the immigration process is a short-term journey. If you believe that after a few months you are in a position to judge and to assess if your immigration project was successful or not, you are completely mistaken. This is just the beginning. You're kicking off the project after a few months. There are studies that say that in Canada, you have the number of years that you need to be in the country to be in a position that will be professionally equivalent to the position that you would have if you had stayed in your country is 12 years. 12. It's not when I ask this question in these events that I mentioned before in workshops, people say, oh, maybe after a couple of years, maybe 6 months, maybe 3 years. No, 12. So whatever, that's kind of an average, and there's a lot of variations there. It doesn't matter. But the fact is, it is not a short-term project. It is a long-term initiative. Just be aware of that, because if you want quick results right away, you might be discouraged, but you might be losing all the beauty that is ahead of you just because you need to think big and you need to think long term. That would be my answer to Mike's very relevant question.
Yeah, I think is be realistic with your expectation. Don't think everything is going to happen overnight. As also you said as well too, it's going to be a tough road ahead. Be prepared for that. Don't think it's going to be, within a year, a couple of months, or within what I'm going to get what I want. it's going to be a tough road ahead. You came from, you have what you have where you are. To come here, expect that you're going to start from the beginning, from zero and moving up. Expect that. Once you expect that, you're prepared. If you don't expect that, you won't be prepared. You're going to run into a lot of difficulties where you're going to question yourself every day why you did this, and you're going to resent why you did that.
Yeah. So for me, finally, you have to treat migration as a project. By the time you're landing Canada, that's the execute phase of the project. A lot of planning should have gone ahead of that phase. A lot of concept, definition should have gone into that phase. And that's where you conceptualize and plan your different scenarios when you execute, right? What if this doesn't go as well? And I think most immigrants come with the assumptions that once I land Canada, the next day I'll get a job. I'll be able to pay my bills. That is one thing you have to prepare for. What qualifications do I have that are 100% translatable to the Canadian environment or market that will land me a job immediately? You need to be aware of that. Now, as a health professional, what are those certifications that will allow you to start working immediately as a health professional? If you don't have that, it's not going to happen. Canada is highly regulated. Right. So you need to know what works for you and what works for your discipline or skill set and plan along that, or be ready to make certain compromises to get certain jobs that can allow you go. I've got people that have come in, couldn't get their regulated jobs and had to do Ubers. Even to get a driver's license is a process in Canada. It's not overnight. So my take is, before you make the same mistake every other immigrant has made in the past, ask questions, understand what aligns with your skill set, and then you'll be able to work, your preparedness.
And I'll use another word, and I learned that from my parents, right? Some of the things that you're here, you will not see, you will not gain, that your kids will gain.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Some of the stuff that because of whatnot, some of the stuff that you feel like you're gonna gain and get, you're probably not gonna benefit from. It's gonna be the next generation that's gonna benefit from it.
Yeah. So Mike, you've heard. Ricardo says roadblocks and detours also have some beauty, right? And someone else said, and this is all to Mike, you've got so much outpouring of love and support online. Someone said, expect uncertainty, take the detours. The road less traveled is the right one. Be ready to explore it. Now, finally, gentlemen, in closing, knowing the full cost, everything it took from you, would you do it again? And would you tell your own child to? Because my child wants to leave Canada. I'm like, what advice am I going to give her if she decides to leave? Now, knowing all you know, and this is a very honest question, and everything it took, everything it cost you, would you do it again?
I can answer that. It's a twofold question, right? Would you do it again, and would you tell your children to do it?
Yes, if they decide to.
So I can tell you with the knowledge that I have today, I would definitely do it again, because now I know much better what it means. I will definitely do it again. And for my kids, absolutely, I will say, look, go for it. If this is part of if it makes sense to you, this will be so rich for you to grow as a person, as a citizen, as a professional. So absolutely yes to all the questions, Charles.
It's interesting you say that, Charles, because I actually thought about migrating to Europe a couple of years ago. I really thought about it based on everything. And because my wife is from Sweden, all my kids and my wife, they're all Swedish citizens. So I'm like, oh, we can go there, the health system, whatnot. But I think it was also the factor that I have to start from the beginning. I have to go network again. I have to do this, after that. So to the point as well, when you want to migrate here, know exactly what you want to do. I did the opposite. I'm like, should I go there? And then I'm like, okay, well, here are the outcomes. Here are the positive. Here are the negative. No, I'm going to stay here. But coming to Canada, going through what I went through, would I do it again? Yeah. But here's another thing, right? You have a plan. I have a plan. Someone higher has a different plan for us.
Amen. Chukwemeka, finally, will you do it again?
Yeah, I'll do it again.
You will do it again.
I will do it again. I think in our instance, we did some planning, taking a lot of OPEX from our migration to the UK earlier. So we understood our pitfalls. It was a difficult decision to choose Canada at the time, right? Because of the experience with migrating to the UK. But then we landed and we took note of the lessons learned. We implemented them, and I think Canada was a better experience for the family. So yeah, I'll do it again.
Okay. I'm not going to summarize what these three fantastic gentlemen just gave us. I'm sure you felt it. But what I'm going to say is this. Difference was never the problem. The room was. And the leaders who figured that out first, the ones who stopped asking people to shrink and start building rooms, what's standing tall in, those ones are the ones who win the next decade. Emeka, Attendees, Abbas, thank you. You were honest when honest was hard. That's the whole point of this. I love your honesty. I love your vulnerability and the fact that you shared your story with us. Now, to everyone watching, this conversation doesn't end here. We typically turn today into a 4-part newsletter, and you find the full episode on YouTube, on Spotify, and even on LinkedIn. Subscribe so it comes to you. And if today named something in you, that gap between what you're capable of and the influence that you actually hold, it's okay. That's the work we do at CI3. So I encourage you to explore the website, take a diagnostic, take a look at what we're doing, and let us know how collectively the gentlemen in this room can help you get to your next level. It is 1:59. I'm glad to say I'm going to leave you with it's 2 p.m. already. I was going to leave you with 1 minute to spare, but then the clock beats me to it. So ladies and gentlemen, before we go, I'm going to play the outro. And the outro would eventually kick us all out of this call. So again, I really do appreciate everything you've done, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. And you will be hearing from me and reading from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.